The grand hall of
Citizens
the Galactic
of the
Covenant was
Assembly,
a cathedral of cold
the time has come
Seven
to act.
species sat in their elevated
Review the
arcs.
data
Below them,
streams.
at the very floor of the chamber, stood the last of the Velhari, a slender, silver-skinned people with hollow eyes that held the memory of a dying star. Elder Silva spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, yet the translators broadcast it perfectly. Our world, Velhar Prime, will be consumed by the Dominion fleet in 48 rotations. We ask only for recognition, a vote of condemnation. Words, if nothing else. The council exchanged glances. The Threx delegates turned away. The Orid checked their data slates. The Mog Collective emitted a low harmonic drone, their way of abstaining. One by one, the great powers of the galaxy chose silence. The Velhari had no trade value, no strategic position, no military force worth mentioning. They were simply inconvenient. The vote failed, 0 in favor. Ambassador James Whitfield of Earth had been sitting in the back row of the observer tier. Humanity's rank in this council was junior, barely provisional. Earth had been a member for only 11 years. No one expected the human to speak. He stood anyway. "I'd like to register Earth's vote," James said, his voice carrying the quiet steadiness of a man who had already made his decision long before the room fell silent. The council chair, a towering Threx named Executive Drath, tilted his ridged head. "Humanity has observer status only. You carry no vote, Ambassador." "Then I'd like to request emergency elevation to provisional vote," James replied, pulling up his terminal. "Article 7, subsection 4. Any provisional member may petition for a single binding vote in cases of existential threat to a sentient species. I'm filing it now." The hall murmured. Drath's eyes narrowed. "You would spend your one historical vote on them?" James looked down at Elder Silva, who stared back at him with wide, uncomprehending eyes. "Yes," he said simply. Within 6 hours of the vote, every human-flagged vessel in the outer reach was rerouted. Admiral Patricia Torres aboard the EFS Resolute received her orders directly from the Secretary General. She read them twice, then smiled the small, satisfied smile of someone who had waited their whole career for exactly this kind of order. 14 warships dropped out of FDL at the edge of the Velhar system. Not enough to win a full war, but enough to make the Dominion pause, enough to say, "This will cost you." Torres opened a wideband channel to the incoming Dominion armada. "This is Admiral Patricia Torres of the Earth Federation ship Resolute. You are entering a system under humanitarian protection, as defined by Earth's provisional vote, registered this cycle with the Galactic Covenant. Any hostile action against Velhar Prime will be treated as an act of war against Earth." She paused, then added with deliberate calm, "We've been in 3 wars in 11 years. We're not tired yet." The Dominion fleet held position for 4 rotations. Then it withdrew. Back in the Grand Hall, Executive Drath approached James as the session closed. His expression was unreadable, as it always was, but something shifted behind his pale compound eyes. "You spent your vote, your one irreplaceable vote, for a species that cannot repay you, that cannot even survive without continuous protection. Why?" James gathered his files. "Because someone had to, and no one else was going to." Drath studied him for a long moment. "Humans are strange." "Yeah," James said, pulling on his coat. "We hear that a lot." In the lower chamber, Elder Silva, the Velhari, sat very still. She had not wept in 20 years. Her people had been beyond tears for a long time, but she pressed one silver hand flat against her chest, over the place where her people believed the soul resided. Outside among the stars, 14 human ships held a quiet, patient orbit around a world that the galaxy decided did not matter. They disagreed.